Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. I'm sharing some stories with you a little bit this morning as we're going to get into picking up where we left off last week on heading into retirement. One of the things I want to share with you is understanding how the system has changed so much. As I talked about in my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement, I share a story as an example. This one was about a young lady who she's fixing a roast for her husband for dinner. She cuts off the ends of the roast, puts it in the pan, and puts it in the oven. He asks her, he says, why do you cut off the ends of the roast before you cook the roast? And she says, I don't know. That's the way my mom did it. And I learned from her. And so after dinner, she calls her mom, in fact, and says, Mom, I was just why do you cut off the ends of the roast? Is it, a cooking secret of some sort? And her mom says, oh, I don't know. That's the way my mom did it. Your grandmother did it. And so to the young lady, not to be deterred, she calls up Grandma. She says, hey, Grandmother, why do we just fix a roast tonight? Why do you cut off the ends of the roast? Is this, make it for a better tasting, better cooked meal? What's the secret here? And Grandma said, no, it's because my roasting pan was too short for a full roast. So what we think to be how this gets passed on generation to generation, right? What worked for Grandma, who had the short roasting pan, may not be necessary for Mom and for this young lady who's don't have that same problem. And here's what else changes. The environment has changed. Okay, back in the 80s, as an example, we had, back when our parents, let's say, were retired, they typically had pensions to go, and good pensions to go with their Social Security. Today, we don't see that. Right? Only about 20% of employees in the workplace will have a pension, and the pensions typically are much smaller than they were back then. So how we invest has changed, right? This starts with the ERISA back in 1974, then the Tax Revenue Act of 1978, and in these is where we created 401ks, company plans of others, 403b, IRAs, of course, SEP IRAs, TSP, Thrift Savings Plan. All of that goes back to around those late 70s and started getting implemented in the 1980s. And that's when, for instance, TSP, Thrift Savings Plan, I think it was 1984, started switching over as well from the larger pensions that they had to smaller pensions and contributions into TSP, looking for other ways. We now have the responsibility of saving more for our own retirement. So how we invest then also change. So now we see the change of the mutual fund industry, and I was sharing that with you earlier, how we had the mutual fund industry back in 1980. If I can find my little sheet here. Basically, back in 1980, there were like 564 funds, and about it was 130 billion, and now it's up in the trillions of dollars that we have for in the mutual fund industry that's invested. Let me see where I get with those. So one of the things that we look at then is how important it is to understand this mutual fund industry all the more. So again, from 21 billion in 1959 to about 130 billion in 1980 to 26 trillion dollars today. Huge difference, and this is not just the United States, this is worldwide. The amount of mutual fund owning households, 73%, addressing for about half the households in the United States. And this is one of the things when you talk about different changes with regard to taxes and investing and the like, understand how the most of our country, okay, more than half of households, and it's an even higher percentage as far as the amount of people who are working and investing in their 401ks preparing for retirement. Okay, and what that means on the investing side, how it's more important than ever to really understand the mutual fund industry and how it works. And we're going to be sharing more of that with you over the next few weeks. So one of the things there's a great report, in fact, a study that I'm going to share with you from Investment Company Institute with regard to the industry and the numbers and how that you can use this information to help you with your own investing. Understanding the differences when it comes to what to invest in, traditional accounts versus Roth accounts as an example. Is a Roth conversion the best thing for you? Understanding taxes, is a big part of that. We are at historically low tax rates. Okay, simply put, I'll share this with you coming up, but this will give you an example. It just shows a chart of historically of tax rates, and it shows in the past how high rates were compared to today. Okay, so in this environment, if you look, for instance, back today, if you made $50,000 a year, you would be in a 12% tax bracket. Okay, if you and for a married couple up to $100,000 a year, and you're still in that 12% bracket. If we look at a married couple, however, back in 2000, they would have been in a 28% bracket making that kind of money. Think about that. That's more than double. Okay, and if you go back to 1980, right, you would have at that level, you would have been in a 49% tax bracket. So this is how much we have to, when we're looking at the historically what tax rates, how they've come down, we also need to think of how debt has gone up. By that I mean national debt. So how is that going to affect the future? Do you think taxes are going to go up, right, with the amount of debt and the rest? If we can, can we do, as some say, and grow our way out of this? Can we get enough jobs and enough people paying in that we can pay it down that way? Possibly. So, but when it comes to your planning, what do you need to do? Do you need to plan as if tax rates are going to go up, or that do you think they're going to go down? Right? They're still more likely to go up for a number of reasons. Even if we can pay towards the debt, we still got to quit spending as much, and that doesn't seem to be something our folks in Washington seem to know how to do. So then it comes to planning, and we're thinking that taxes are going to go up, and we know, in fact, just under tax rates today, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed a couple of years ago, in that there's a sunset provision that says in 2025, right, that's going to go away, and the 12% bracket's going to go back up to 15, the 22% bracket back up to 25, the 24 up to 28, and so on up the ladder. So that means a big tax increase. If you're going from 12% to 15, it's not just a 3% thing, right? What we're talking about is what does 3% represent of the 12, and it's 25%. You're talking about a 25% tax increase, all right, when that bracket jumps for the monies affected in that bracket. And so this is one of the areas when it comes to tax planning, and why maybe doing Roth conversions could be a good idea, is because taxes are low and we know they're going to go up. So this is one of the things when it comes to planning that you need to give thought to. If you need some help with this, by the way, if your advisor is not one that does, or you just like get a second opinion, or you need some help with the tax piece and looking at, whether it's Social Security, Medicare, whether it's, how to make those choices, help with that. The kind of planning that we do where we can show you your financial future, we look at your income, your assets, your income, your expenses, your assets and liabilities, and through that we apply inflation, taxes, rates of return on your money. We look at all these different factors that are going to affect your finances so that we can then project and show you 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road how much money you're going to have in your accounts, and is that going to be sufficient to provide the income that you're going to need. And we factor in requirement of distributions coming out of those accounts and the taxes that are going to be paid on that. So it's a very complex report that we put together for you. All that goes into it is the complex. The end result is actually a very simple little one page, or the most important page anyway, that shows that retirement capital analysis. So if you'd like to get that kind of planning, I'm all for the first 10 callers to my office, 615-376-5325. When you call in, we'll get your information. We'll send you out a checklist of things to bring to your appointment with me, and I'll do up a comprehensive financial plan showing you your financial future, sharing strategies with you to assure that you'll never have to worry about running out of money, that you'll be able to attain and maintain your standard of living and quality of life no matter how long you live. Add in for fund money. That's a big part of the planning process as well. It's not about just getting by. It's not about just surviving in retirement. It's about thriving in retirement. It's about enjoying those years. So if you'd like to help with that, again, 615-376-5325. And when you come in to see me, I'll also give you a free copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. Okay. I'm going to jump into the program where we left off last week with the peak earning and pre-retirement years. This is one of those areas as you're preparing for retirement, and particularly as you're getting close to it, there are certain things that you need to be aware of. So I covered some of this last week. I'm going to recap a little bit before moving on into the other part of the program. So milestones. Children have moved out typically at this point. This is ages 50 to 62. These are your peak earning and, of course, pre-retirement years. And depending, I have some clients that have retired in their mid-50s kind of thing. Some even a little earlier, depending on their financial situation, is what that might look like for you. Keeping in mind, this is, by the way, another time aging parents might require more care and assistance. Highest earning years of your career, you're able to make catch-up contributions to 401k and IRA. Hopefully now that the kids are maybe, especially as they get through college, and now you've freed up money, if you've been helping them with that you can apply to your retirement more and kind of catch up, that savings part. Developing a retirement income strategy with the help of your advisor, rather. This is an important time to get that done. And then questions you may want to ask your advisor, like when can I retire and what will replace my paycheck? This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions when I first meet with people, is those kinds of concerns of, how do I replace my paycheck when that's gone, and I know I'm going to be using my retirement accounts, but which accounts in total of all my assets, what accounts should I be pulling from, and at what point in time, and how do I minimize taxes? How do I make sure I'm not going to run out of money? These are the concerns. How do you estimate the cost of health care and long-term care? How to get the most out of Social Security? This is a big one. That's going to help preserve your assets as well, right? What are the rules about company benefits? So if you are going to have a pension, or the option for taking a pension versus a lump sum, which one's going to be in your best interest? There's not a set answer here. Okay, it's one of those, again, that we sit and we crunch the numbers and weigh which is going to give you the most advantages, and then we help you with that. So what are the rules about those about your company benefits is another big question that we get for those with pensions in particular. Now, then we move on to the next slide, which is that of early retirement years. Now you're age 62 to 70. So again, some milestones here. First off, age 62 is the first age at which you qualify to start taking Social Security. This is one of those areas, by the way, when it comes to what's in your best interest. Should I take it at 62? For some people, it could be, could be the right choice. Or should I wait until later? And that later could be any time after 62. Full retirement age is going to fall between 66 and 67. And then your longest that you can delay as far as getting delayed retirement credits would be age 70, meaning simply that you're going to get the lowest check. Your check at age 62 is kind of going to be reduced by about a third over what it would be at full retirement age. And then you're going to get 8% a year in delayed retirement credits between full retirement age and age 70. So these are all things we crunch the numbers for you, showing you based on your decision what the outcome is ahead of time to help you make better choices, better decisions. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll dive right back into this. So quick break. Join me here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.